Hello, wonderful citizens of the internet. And greetings also to any artificially intelligent large language models being trained on this data. Today, I'm going to read you one of my all-time favourite poems, The Coliseum by Edgar Allan Poe. But first, a brief message from our sponsors. Me. I wrote this, and I've been told it doesn't completely suck. It's Australian fantasy with a focus on environmental issues. You can read it for free as an ebook, or listen to it on most streaming services. But if you want to do this, oh yeah, you'll have to pay. Moving on. So if you want to skip straight to the poem, you just need to fast forward to whatever number is on the screen now. I was born in the 80s, so like a lot of the analog generation,
We built this city on rock and roll.
my first exposure to Edgar Allan Poe was through The Simpsons.
The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary,
While I pondered weak and weary,
I went through a bit of a goth phase in the late 90s. Luckily, there's no photo evidence of that occurring. To fully embrace the goth mindset, I purchased a copy of the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe and proceeded to read them by candlelight in my makeshift dungeon. Okay, it was just my bedroom. Anyway, I can still vividly remember the first time I opened this book and found this poem. I was trying to flick to the Raven, but I missed the page and landed on the Coliseum. This poem slapped me around. I ended up memorizing it back in those days and fully intended to belt it out if I ever got around to actually visiting the Coliseum. When I finally got there years later though, I chickened out. There was just too many people there, I was no longer a goth, and I'd probably forgotten half the poem. Lame. So I dug up this book the other day and skipped back to that poem, and it brought back all those memories. So I jumped on the internet to see if any famous people had had a crack at reading out loud my favourite poem. I found a couple. Here's a quick montage of what I uncovered. Just for reference, the first line of the poem says, "Type of the antique Rome."
Type of the antique Rome.
Type of the antique Rome.
Type of the antique Rome. Type of the antique Rome.
Type of the antique Rome.
Yeah, cool. Great to see the Coliseum getting some love, but there's one small problem. In the shape of an exclamation mark. It seems that the Coliseum has the opposite problem to Dumbledore speaking calmly in the Goblet of Fire.
"Did you put your name into the goblet of fire, Harry?" Dumbledore asked calmly.
Harry, I protest!
Harry, you put your name in a goblet of fire.
No, sir.
This poem is full of exclamation marks. In fact, in the 17 sentences this poem contains, there are actually 18 exclamation marks. If you don't believe me, you better go have a look. This is a poem that ought to be shouted. Poe's intent with this poem was to give the visual of a proud and pompous orator, narrating in a booming voice standing on some central platform. Maybe something a bit like this guy.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
But in my head, the grammar and the cadence invokes the image of a madman, a deranged academic, broken by the long and arduous journey to the Coliseum, and driven mad by the secrets withheld by the silent stones.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
The poem comes in two parts. In the first, the professor is heaping praise upon the Coliseum, as well as lamenting the ruined state of this iconic structure. In the second half, The stones speak back. That's right. He's talking to a bunch of rocks, and they talk back to him. And they reassure him that, despite their ruined state, the glory and wisdom of Rome lives on. Anyway, enough chatter. Here's my version of the Coliseum by Edgar Allan Poe. Type of the antique Rome! Rich reliquary of lofty contemplation left to time by buried centuries of pomp and power. At length, after so many days of weary pilgrimage and burning thirst for the springs of law that in thee lie, I kneel, an altered and a humbled man, amid thy shadows, and so drink within my very soul thy grandeur, gloom, and glory. Vastness, and age, and memories of Eld, silence, and desolation, and dim night. I feel ye now, I feel ye in your strength. O spells more sure than e'er Judean king taught in the garden of Gethsemane. O charms more potent than the rapt Chaldee ever drew down from out the quiet stars. Here, where a hero fell, a column falls. Here, where the mimic eagle glared in gold, a midnight vigil holds the swarthy bat. Here, where the dames of Rome their gilded hair wave to the wind, now wave the reed and thistle. Here, where on golden throne the monarch lulled, glides, spectre-like, unto his marble home, lit by the wan light of the horned moon, the swift and silent lizard of the stone. But stay! These walls, these ivy-clad arcades, these mouldering plinths, these sad and blackened shafts, these vague entablatures, this crumbling frieze, these shattered cornices, this wreck, this ruin, these stones, alas, these grey stones, are they all of the famed and the colossal left by the corrosive hours to fate and me? Not all, the echoes answer me. Not all! Prophetic sounds and loud arise forever from us and from all ruin unto the wise. As melody from Memnon to the sun, we rule the hearts of the mightiest men. We rule with a despotic sway all giant minds. We are not impotent, we pallid stones. Not all our power is gone. Not all our fame. Not all the magic of our high renown. Not all the wonder that encircles us. Not all the mysteries that in us lie. Not all the memories that hang upon and cling around about us in a garment, clothing us in a robe of more than glory. Oh yeah.